Hello, everyone. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I hope everyone is doing great today. And let me know who's joining me in the chat. Awesome. Hi, Jen. Jen got her notebook ready. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Red Tay. Hey, Natasha. Hey, sis. Hey. Love it. Y'all, so I have a live studio audience. So my mom is back here behind me today. Say hi to the folks, Mom.
Hi, folks.
Hopefully you heard her. So she's here with me. I'm in Houston. And I'm really excited to be here. So that is great. Thank you all for being on. Let me know where you're joining from. If this is your first time, it's Wellness Wednesday. And I am really excited to be on with you as we wrap up Black History Month. Yep, Natasha says hi, Mom. So she's back here. We are hanging out. After this, we are going to dinner. So I'm excited about that. So let's jump in. So actually, I know Jen and Natasha were on last week when on Thursday when I had a special event on Black Wealth, right? The Black Wealth Summit. And just in case you were not there last week, I want to highlight a couple of very startling statistics about wealth in our community because I know Natasha, Jen, and I we follow this kind of the same people. And one thing Constance Carter said is that we're at the bottom of everything in terms of wealth. Anything good, we're at the bottom. Anything not great, like diabetes, debt, all of that, marriage statistics, or bad marriage statistics, we're at the top. And so it's time for us to reverse that because, again, no one is going to save us but us. And now we have no excuse because before, we just may not have had access to information, but that's not the case anymore. So if you know people who are ready for a mindset shift and maybe they don't necessarily know what to do or where to start, then definitely share this recording with them. Yes, great minds think alike. That's what I'm talking about, sis. Excellent. So let's jump in. So we're going to do a recap of the statistics and then I'm going to go deeper into some definite strategies. And if there's anything you all want to share in the audience about different strategies that you've used to build wealth, because, Dr. Boyce always talks about, investing in the market, and so many people are afraid of it. But really, fear is just false evidence appearing real. And anything that we want to do, like if, let's say today you made a decision that you want to build wealth, everybody has a day one. And so we can't just say like, oh, this thing is so overwhelming. No, we have to go out and research it. And that's something like Natasha always talks about is go do the research. Or if you don't, I am not a big researcher. I research in my field because I love it. But research is not like, oh, I just love it. Well, if that's the case, go find someone who is doing extremely well in the area that you want to know about and pay them to help you. There's so many ways for us to build wealth. So let's jump in without further ado. And if you have questions, thoughts, comments, please put them in the chat because I like to highlight y'all. And Mom, if you want to, chime in, if you got something to say, you can also say it too.
Okay.
Thanks. All right. So if you weren't at the Black Wealth Summit last week, we talked about the top 3 leading causes of Black wealth insufficiencies. One is the impact of marriage, because we know that when you're trying to build wealth on a single income, of course, that there's less money in many instances, right? Because there's also an income gap, especially in the African American community. The second leading cause is debt. And the last leading cause is income and financial literacy disparities. Basically, we just don't know what we don't know. But now there's so much information out there that we can't use that as an excuse anymore. So let's break down the marriage statistic. So first and foremost, Black people are leading in the lowest marriage rates at 31%. Okay. So like I got married late in life and I remember reading this statistic when I was in my 20s. And long story short, It basically said that people who get married earlier in life, they start to build wealth faster because let's just say they decide to live off of one income and basically save and invest the other income, right? But if you're single, like I was for many, many years, I wasn't able to do that. I had to support myself and then basically make a decision on what to save and when to save. Yes, that's right, Jen. Marriage, debt, and ignorance. Okay. Yes. Awesome. So Jen has another hack too. So yes, Jen, share that hack for sure, for sure. Okay. So we know we talked about marriage. We're at 31% versus Hispanics at 43%, whites at 53%, and Asians at 59%. And all of these statistics are all correlated. So you're going to see how Asians with the highest marriage rate are also bringing in the highest income. Okay. So, also, a lack of two income households directly impacts our ability for home ownership. So, again, I was responsible for taking care of me. It definitely took me longer to save up to purchase a home. Thankfully, I was able to do so. But again, it took longer because I only had my sources of income. Even though I had multiple, again, when you have a job, sometimes you have a ceiling on your income, but that's another a topic for another day. Also, less than half of Black Americans own homes. And we know that real estate is one of the major ways towards building wealth. So, only 45.9% of African Americans own homes, right? Compared to 62% of other races. And because of that gap between home ownership and renters, this is a wealth gap that results in $1.3 million. That's huge. Okay. So home ownership has historically been the foundation of us getting ahead financially. Now let's talk about debt. Okay. Yeah, it is true, Natasha. We really, really are at the bottom. But we have to make a decision. This is something my wealth coach says all the time. We get to decide. So we can no longer say, I don't know, I'm scared, this and that. Either go get you some help or do some research on your own. Okay, that's my biggest thing to everyone. Like, we no longer, like, I'm so grateful, like, for Natasha, like what she's been teaching, because now there's something I was interested in. A lot of times if we don't pay, we're not paying attention. So you're welcome, sis. So let's keep going. Okay, so these statistics, they really, really break my heart. And this is feminine finance, and so everything I do, I'm thinking about it from a heart standpoint. I'm thinking about how this not only impacts us as individuals, but also how it impacts our family units and people who we care about, right? Because I know for me, one of my big missions, of course, along with my sister, is that I want to make sure that her children never have to take out student loans. That if they want to purchase homes like early on in life, if they need a little help with the down payment, TT can go in the bank and help them out. But really, we want to make sure our money has a mission. But if we don't have capital, if all of our capital is going towards our personal needs and expenses because we just don't have enough, then it becomes a challenge to build wealth systematically and quickly. Not that you can build wealth quickly, but it can be at an even slower pace depending on our access to capital. So let's talk about this debt situation. So 61.3% of Black households have unsecured debt. So if you're not familiar with unsecured debt, that's just basically any debt that's not backed by something physical. So it could be credit cards, personal loans, things of that nature. Secured debt is like cars, houses, things that are actually backed by a tangible item. 25.8% of Black households carry student loan debt. So I talked about this last week, but essentially we start out at a negative net worth when we take out student loans because many of us don't necessarily have assets going into college, right? Unless our parents prepared and, bought assets for us. And then we take out these loans. So we're already starting at a negative standpoint. Then 22.5% of Black households have medical debt. And now, like I know in New York, they're actually working to get rid of medical debt altogether, or help to forgive medical debt. So that's huge. And then the other thing is that only 14% of Black families have enough savings to cover 6 months of expenses. And this is the thing. We really got to make sure, y'all, that we have some secure emergency funds, because we know life is going to life. And so we definitely got to make sure we have money in the bank. And one thing I talked about also was like, at to be wealthy, we got to pay ourselves first. Okay. So the last thing I want to talk about is this income gap. This is something we all know, we all see, we all feel. And essentially, the income gap looks like this. So this is as of 2023. Asians have a median household income of $112,800. Whites have a median income of $81,060. Latinos, $65,540. And us, African Americans, at $56,490. That's like almost 50,000 less than Asians. And so, with that being said, that means that if we're not making that much, then we are therefore probably don't have, we only have enough, if we do have enough, to cover our basic needs. And then where does that leave room to buy assets and build wealth? However, I'm of the mindset that if you want to do something, you're going to do it, because Natasha, Jen, and I, we know of stories where people actually have made less than $50,000 a year, and they essentially became millionaires. So it's not about how much money you have, it's what you do with the money that you have. So let's jump into some wealth building strategies. Okay. So I started talking about these on Thursday, but I want to go a little bit deeper. So here's some solutions in terms of building wealth. So first and foremost, it really does start with having a wealth mindset. So wealth really does start in your mind. And to me, the definition of wealth is being able to do what you want when you want. Okay. So wealth is not just money, it's also health, right? Because you can have all the money in the world, but if your health is not there, then you're not going to be able to enjoy that money, right? Having great relationships, that's also really important. And also just choosing to see abundance versus lack, because it's really easy. I'm speaking for myself, okay? So, no judgment. It's really easy to look at the numbers that you have in your bank account and your investments, and depending on what it is, be like, okay, well, I don't know how I'm supposed to see abundance when I don't hardly have any zeros in my account. So we have to have mental toughness, so to speak. That's not exactly the right words, but essentially, we can't be mentally lazy, and we have to choose to focus on what we want, not what we see, right? Because it's basically faith. We have to build that faith muscle to be able to say, you know what? I know I want to build wealth. And as we concentrate on what we want and we do the work, right? Because faith without works is dead, then eventually that thing will come to pass. So I'm going to give a funny story and then I'm going to get back to it. So the funny thing is that like when I wanted to get married, I was focused on my chocolate king, right? And so for like, I don't know, I got laser focused for like a year, 9 months or something. I was asking everybody, first of all, I got clear on what I wanted. I wrote down, okay, I want these characteristics. And then I was asking everybody. I was like, do you know any chocolate kings? Do you know any chocolate kings? People were setting me up on blind dates, all sorts of stuff. But I had enrolled my community in what I wanted to do. So that's another tip for you. Enroll your community. Well, people who know what they're talking about, okay? Because Let's just be clear. Everybody don't know what they're talking about, especially when it comes to wealth building. So be careful. But if you have people in your community that can actually help to elevate your mindset, then enroll them in what you're trying to do to help you get to the next level. Um, so that's basically whatever you're laser focused on is going to come to you. Think about like, I'm probably going to get this wrong. Oh, well, I know this story. Henry Ford, for example, or no, let's use Madam C.J. Walker. It's Black History Month. She was actually, so Dr. Boyce talked about this, but she was hired by another Black woman, and her name is escaping me at the moment. But basically, I remember watching a movie, and the woman wouldn't let Madam C.J. Walker do something in the company. I can't remember exactly what it was at the moment, but the point is, she was focused on having her own business, even though there were so many barriers that were preventing her. But because it was her focus, it was like her obsession. She didn't let the competition stop her from doing what she wanted to do. And it's the same with us building wealth. We have to make a decision, and we have to take the inspired action to get there. So that's the first thing that we have to do. If you don't have a decision made and you don't have a mindset of abundance, it's always going to be a pushback. Or maybe one day I'm going to get there. The other thing is you need access to financial education. So that is something that I aim. Oh, my Houston internet is choppy too. You know what I think, Jen? Honestly, I think that it's my computer, even though it's a new computer, because everywhere I go, the internet is choppy, no matter what. So I'm gonna go to the Apple store and I'm gonna find out what's going on. So, there's a lot of good stuff going on in the chat here. So before I talk about financial education, I'm going to share Jen's message here. So Katrina, who is my business funding slash business pastor, she's my business funding coach slash business pastor because she always has a good word. She taught today to use payment installments to get out of debt in order to lift your credit by improving your ratio. Okay, payment installment. So if I'm understanding this correctly, basically what I've heard her teach before is basically you pay multiple times throughout the month, but you definitely pay before the statement generates. And that can help to improve your credit. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what she was saying. Oh, my internet is going out again. Okay. So thank you for that, Jen. So that's a payment hack right there. Um, and thank you, Natasha. So Madam CJ Walker, she used to work for Annie Malone. So Annie Malone wanted to have the monopoly on a black hair gang back in the day, y'all. But Madam CJ Walker said, no, ma'am, I'm going to do my own thing. And she didn't let the fact that another sister had a business in the same realm. So that's another encouragement for you all, ladies. Just because somebody may be doing something in your lane already doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. There's a whole bunch of people that talk about finance. I'm sure there's people that talk about feminine finance, but nobody can do it like me. Nobody can do it like you. You put your own twist and your own giftings on whatever it is that you bring to the table. So I just want you to be encouraged because I just heard this wonderful acronym on wealth building, and I'll share it right now before I go into my other tips. It's called RISE. I cannot take credit for it. I heard it from Aisha Versi. She said the four, or it might have came from Dr. Boyce. I don't know, but it was a great acronym nonetheless. RISE. So the 4 ways to build wealth. R is for real estate, I is for insurance, S is for the stock market, and E is for entrepreneurship. So if you don't take anything away from what I'm talking about tonight, make sure your mindset is right. Number 2, make sure you choose a vehicle to invest in. Whether you're going to invest in real estate, you're going to get some insurance because insurance communicates to your family that you love them. Whether you're going to get into the stock market, and you can do so strategically and thoughtfully. It doesn't have to be gambling as some people think it is. That's not the case. Or you can invest in your business, right? And being a business owner and being self-employed is two different things. So that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Thank you, Andrea. I appreciate it. So this is Rise, real estate investment, stocks, and entrepreneurship. So let me know in the chat, what have you decided to invest in to grow your wealth? Or what will you decide to invest in to grow your wealth? Let me know in the chat. I want to hear what some folks are doing. And I love this. Yes, Natasha. We everything that we do, we put our own spin on it. So, like for example, I love the way Natasha teaches. Like it, boom, clicks with me right away. I immediately felt confident. I've heard a lot of people teach on a topic that she teaches on, but I was like, I don't know. That doesn't, it's not landing. So find your people that can help you to get to where you want to go. All right, so let's jump back in. So we already talked about mindset. Then we talked about access to financial education. So a lot of the ladies here tonight, we are all part of millionaire training in the morning. Okay, so find a community where you can learn together, where you can ask questions. This is a community. We come here every Wednesday evening and we talk about financial concepts from a heart standpoint, and we make it simple. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you have some type of spending plan. Um, Many people call it a budget. I don't, because I believe that I'm the CEO of my money and I tell my money where to go. I'm the director of my finances. So I have a weekly date with my dollars. I've talked about this many times, and I have a date with my dollars with my husband, and I have a date with my dollars based on my husband, and then based on my business. So I have multiple dates with my dollars. And I am making sure the dollars are doing what I need them to do, because wealthy people tell their dollars what to do. Poor people let their dollars dictate what they can do. So I want us to come from an empowered standpoint where we're telling our dollars what to do for us. I love it, Natasha. So Natasha's doing some silver, Jen is doing options, Andrea's doing stock market, startups, Ross, HSA, selling options, yes, and leveraging 9 to 5. Yeah, I like to say that my 9 to 5 was my biggest investor back in the day. I love it. So we got some folks that are actually investing. And then we got some other folks. Let us know in the chat what's going on. All right, so let's keep on going. So other ways. We already talked about debt management. If someone that you know is drowning in debt, definitely reach out to me, because I do have access to different debt solutions, because again, it's really expensive to borrow money right now. And any money that we're paying out in interest is money that we can't invest in assets. And assets is what helps our net worth to grow. And if you're new and you're like, what is net worth? Net worth is just basically all your assets, whatever you own. And assets can be classified as cash, bank accounts or retirement accounts, investments, things of that nature, real estate holdings, minus liabilities. Liabilities is what you owe. So student loans, personal loans, credit cards, car loans, mortgages, anything that you owe to someone else, that would be a liability. So you subtract what you own minus what you owe, and that is your net worth. All right, so let's keep going. So we got to get this debt out of the way so we can free up that money that we're paying in interest to put on owning assets. So that's another thing I want you to take away. Mindset, assets, assets, mindset. Those are the main two things in building our wealth. The next thing is saving and investing literacy. So for the most part, I hope that everyone here has a high yield savings account. If you do not, please get with me so I can give you access to them. Essentially, most banks nowadays are paying you 1% or less in interest on a savings account. And it's okay to have like a little buffer. But in terms of any emergency fund savings that you're going to have, or any sinking fund savings that you want to have, you should have it in a high yield savings account where you're getting 4% or more interest on the money that you need to keep liquid. And then in terms of investing literacy, Again, if you need some resources on that, we recommend Dr. Boyce Watkins. He's amazing he has lots of classes on stock market, as well as options trading, and just a plethora of information in the Black Business School. But if you need to set up an account, my team and I also can assist you with that. The next thing is home ownership preparation. Now, I did talk about this last time. If you are thinking about home ownership, preparation is the key. First and foremost, you want to know what you can afford. That's very important. So you can't get pre-qualified. Um, Excellent. Andrea has Amex. Okay, I have that one too. And I have another one that pays even more interest. So you can always have multiples as well. Oh, yes, dollar dates for yourself, hubby, and the business. Yes, yep, dollar dates. You got to be on the same page. Oh, I like that. Ooh, Jen. And we like that song too. You gonna be some ideas here, Jen. Set it off. Yes. Oh, look, I'm getting a whole little revelation right here. That's why I love y'all. Excellent. Okay. So where were we as Jen got my wheels turning? Home ownership. So with home ownership, I would say it is not necessarily for everyone, because you have to be able to not only afford the mortgage, because I have to educate a lot of people. They think, oh, well, I'm paying all this rent so I can afford home ownership. I was like, it's not like that simple. So there is the down payment, closing costs, earnest fees, inspection fees. There's a lot of upfront charges that you have to be able to pay for before you even get into the home. Then once you get into the home, do you have to do any repairs, and or do you need to remodel, and is the home move-in ready, right? So, and then you're probably going to have some new furniture. So, and there's moving cost. So when you're thinking about home ownership, you really have to count the cost. And so I really highly recommend getting with a realtor in the area that you want to move to. Also, getting recommendations on mortgage lenders who work with first-time home buyers if you're first time, or even getting assistance if you want to learn more about investing. Real estate investing, especially if you're going to invest in an area where you don't live. So get together a team of people that will be a real estate agent, mortgage lender, and an insurance broker. Hey, Janita, welcome. Awesome. So that is my take on home ownership preparation. And then also you want to get pre-approved to see how much you qualify for. Um, and then let's see. So next up we have proper insurance protection. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart. I love talking about insurance because this is a way for people to build generational wealth. So essentially, some people do not like to talk about life insurance because, I've actually heard people say, well, if I talk about that, it means that somebody's going to pass away. Well, the truth is we all will pass away. However, the question becomes, do you want to leave generational wealth behind for your loved ones? And if you were to pass away prematurely, how do you make sure that your family is in a position to be able to maintain their lifestyle if you were no longer there, your income was no longer there? So there's many different ways that you can use life insurance. Some people use the infinite banking concept, as well as, of course, the generational wealth, and then income protection. There's also ways to use it for your business. So if you have like a S corp or a C corp, there's ways that you can actually, or even business continuity. You can use insurance for that, so you can keep your business in the family, and when you do pass away, your business can actually receive the proceeds from the death benefit. And then the next thing is estate planning. So many of you are, I'm sure, familiar with Aretha Franklin, Prince, Chadwick Boseman. These are all famous people who didn't necessarily have an estate plan in place. And what an estate plan is basically it consists of a will, a trust, and ancillary documents. Okay. And so most people are familiar with a will, but ancillary documents include your power of attorney, your medical directives, things of that nature. So, for example, if you were incapacitated and you could no longer make decisions on your behalf, who do you want to do that for you? Who do you want to make sure runs your financial affairs? Who do you want to make medical decisions on your behalf? If you have young children, you also have to include the guardianship papers. So this is also something that my team and I support with in terms of helping you set up proper estate planning, because what you want to do is avoid probate. And probate typically happens if you have assets that need to be divided among heirs and there's no will or estate plan in place. And even if there is a will, it still has to go through probate. But probate takes time and it costs money, legal fees. And last but not least is entrepreneurship, right? Business ownership. Because again, we talked about that earlier: real estate, investing, insurance, stock market, and entrepreneurship. Because once you become an entrepreneur, you don't have a cap on your income. Whatever you put in is what you get out. I'm not saying it's easy, because I am a full-time entrepreneur, but I have no cap on my income. I have time freedom. I can make as much money as I want to make. I don't have to ask for a raise. And it has just been a pure blessing to be able to do what I love. So those are the 8 solutions to build wealth. We talked about different investing opportunities, because you definitely have to have assets to build your wealth. So let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Jen, excellent. So Jen says she didn't know there was living benefits insurance until just recently. Absolutely. So the life insurance that I have personally that I provide for my clients, it has long-term care. It has terminal illness attached to it. So if you were diagnosed with a terminal illness with 12 months or less to live, you can actually accelerate the death benefit and use that to pay off any bills you may have. You can use it for medical treatments, like some people do alternative medicine. If you have a critical illness, for example, heart attack or stroke or cancer. And so I would say that, you can definitely use living benefits in a easy way to help you with any type of medical catastrophe. Yes, a trust does cost money if you do it through an attorney. So through the team that I work with, we actually get discounts for trust. So if that's something that you want to look into, I can definitely set you up with an attorney. Yes, that is exactly right, Andrea. If you only have a will, your family will go to probate. That's exactly right. Yep. And so my family, we all have trust. We're not doing that. We ain't going to probate. That's not for us. Not for us. Yep. So yes. So with the trust, just to go off of your question too, Chanita, with the trust, the will and the ancillary documents, or at least working with my team. Every attorney does it differently, so I cannot speak to what they do and how they do it. But with the attorneys that I work with directly, you get the whole package. And if you have young children, then guardianship papers are included in that as well. Excellent. Thanks for that question. Anyone else have any questions before we wrap up? All right, I don't see any in the chat. Well, thank y'all for hanging in with me for an extra 5 minutes. I hope this was helpful to you. If you need any assistance in terms of where to go, in terms of insurance, estate planning, anything that I just talked about, you can feel free to reach out to me. Um, I will put up my link. Let's see. Here it is. So on this link, this is actually, you can purchase my book, Think, Learn, and Feel Rich. But at the top, it says schedule an appointment. And you can book a complimentary one-on-one with me. And I'm happy to do a deep dive on any of the things that I covered tonight. And I also consider myself a finance concierge. So, for example, I just had a client, I was like, you need to meet with a tax strategist. I was like, I know you want insurance, but you need to meet with a tax strategist. So I called my tax strategist. We did a three-way Zoom and we got her exactly what she needed. So if you need tax people, I have a whole team of them. You need estate planning attorneys, I work with a whole team of them. So anything you need finance related, I probably have a strategic partner that can help you to get to where you're trying to go. Well, that is it for me this evening. I just want to say thank you all for hanging in there. And oh, let's see. So Chanita says, I think my dad trusts his lawyers too much. He always says, just call his lawyer. You know what, Chanita, that's a good point because I would actually recommend for you to call the attorney now. Look at get your eyes on the document and make sure it's a trust or a will or whatever it's supposed to be. That way you can make sure that everything is in place that he thinks is in place. So I would get your eyes on it now if your dad is open to that. And then oh, okay, so Jen, a living trust. So basically there's two types, well, there's actually many types of trust, but the most common ones are irrevocable and revocable. Revocable means it could be revoked, changed, basically changed. Irrevocable is you can't change it. So depending on how you like, for mine's is revocable because I am, as I get assets, I want to be able to amend it and add more assets to it. So if you know that you want to change it over time as you get more assets, maybe as you have more children, etc., you want to get something that can be changed. Yeah, so thank you all for coming and thank you for these great questions. Again, feel free to reach out to me. My website is there and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you for supporting. Good night.